First off, I want to start by saying congratulations to those of you who have former students that have approached you to continue on teaching with them. That's really exciting. Best of luck if you are now thinking to crack into that Chinese market. Commiserations if you've had difficulty setting up Stripe invoicing, because I sure did at the beginning. And smart move if what you're looking to do is streamline your curriculum and payments together and save time and earn a guaranteed payout. You're in the right place. The bubble burst in China, and a whole bunch of teachers were literally thrown out the door from their really lovely contracted roles. And the struggle was, while the sort of middleman between the Chinese market and these teachers were mostly gone, the students still want to learn. So then you have to try to breach that market yourself, but China doesn't make it easy to get funds outside their country. They want to throw every loophole in there. You know, part of this whole double reduction policy is to prevent union between China and Western countries. So of course, they're going to try to make it more difficult. And in my own experience, when I set up my payment portal for my freelancing business, oh my goodness, was Stripe invoicing difficult to figure out. I'm not techie by any means, and I've come a long way in learning since then. But what I found was I put in dozens, if not hundreds of hours trying to get my Stripe portal set up and jumping through hoop after hoop. I felt like every member of Stripe support that I spoke to was telling me something completely different. Like, I don't know what they do for training there, but perhaps it's dependent on what region that person works in, because they don't seem to communicate region to region. So it was an uphill battle. And the only way that I could get it sorted out was to pay a developer to integrate the Stripe plugin into my teaching website. And I'll get into that more down the road. But then when the Chinese market kind of flopped, I got to thinking, well, surely there are other teachers out there that aren't going to be able to collect payment and therefore may not be able to accept Chinese students if they can't get paid. So why can't I just repurpose the site I already set up for myself to help others out? And that's sort of where the portal was born. So here we go. Right. I am not here to, oh, pardon my dog. I'm not here to sort of sell ice to Eskimos. Definitely not. I am here to say that if you can manage it, your ideal scenario for China payments is to set up Stripe for yourself. I don't get paid for saying this. And certainly if you're getting on board with like 30 new students and, you know, teaching full time, you probably should make an investment right from the start in integrating a Stripe plugin or figuring out Stripe invoicing. It will save you probably between 1% and 3% in fees to have that under your own banner rather than going through Crystal Clear ESL. So that's kind of the why. Where is Stripe supported? I don't know. There is the option, excuse me, there is the option to do Stripe invoicing. And again, that varies by region. So I'm a Canadian with my business registered in the UK, and it couldn't work for me. That said, I have heard that other UK residents have had success with Stripe invoicing. I've heard that people in Southeast Asia, Thailand, for example, have issues. It's just, there doesn't seem to be rhyme or reason. So if you can figure out the whole geographic situation of using Stripe invoicing, happy days. You don't necessarily need to plug the app into a website, but you will need to get verified by Stripe to get set up. So what that involves is they want to see that you're an established professional business. And that is either by creating a simple website for yourself. It need not be pages and pages. Just one landing page is sufficient. And or alternatively, a social media business page. And if you tick enough of their boxes that you're a professional, they will verify your Stripe account. The other issue with Stripe, however, is you could go through that whole process, get verified, and then run into obstacles accepting payments from your students, because what you'll find on the student side is that the process to use Alipay internationally rather than domestically is a little bit trickier. There's almost like an extra step in the end that those students have to do. And I'll get into that a little bit more later. But so it's about being able to integrate it first and then being able to navigate it second. What are your other options? Well, some teachers have had success with PayPal and using PayPal payments through China. It's not a super recognized app or way to make payments, so it's a bit of a slow burner and hit and miss as to whether your Chinese students will be open to it. Others have maybe been able to use Payoneer or bank transfer. But again, you're getting more costly. And something to keep in mind with all of these alternates is that they, in most cases, don't only charge you a transaction fee, but they also mark up a currency conversion rate. So if you're investigating fees, be sure to also look at what their fluctuating daily rate is and if it matches the bank rate in your area or your currency. So for example, I'm looking at the Bank of England rate, and I would log on to, let's say, xe.com. That's just the one that I use. And I would see what the general bank currency rate is for the pound, and then compare that to what PayPal is paying out, and it's higher. Whereas Stripe will give you the bank rate, which is a savings, and they're really sneaky about that. So do be on top of them. And you could even use something like Western Union in a money order, but again, you're looking at higher fees on your end and the possibility of fees on the client's end or the student's end as well. So it is a bit tricky, unfortunately. The first thing to note is that I've been conducting payments from China using this platform for 2 years, just over, I think. And it works. It's tried and tested. I have clients that have used it and have come back again. What problem did the portal solve for you?
Oh, it solved so many problems. Only because I wasn't sure I could do this tutoring thing by myself. Like, I felt like I needed to run through a company who did all the back work for me. The portal like changed it. That's the reason I am private tutoring. I didn't have to worry about conversions or fees or that unknown of like, if I charge a student, are they going to pay, or are they going to like, how long is it going to take for me? Am I going to get my money before I even start teaching? So it solved a lot of those unknowns for me. This, I just put it in. I know that I'm guaranteed that money, and it's just simple. It's laid out. I don't have to worry about doing a whole bunch of math and figuring out when my money's going to be there. The system takes care of that.
We have dedicated individual support throughout the whole process. So it's kind of like a hand to hold, because this is new ground for you, and it can be a little overwhelming and it can be a little scary also for your student. So to have somebody there to walk you through the steps that's done the process before, it's just that bit of reassurance that you might need to take the plunge. It's customizable. So this is a recent development. I originally set out the payment portal to mirror what I was doing and what I was charging. And I personally was offering my students the option of 3 different bundles that got less expensive the longer their commitment to me, and fixed prices. And the web pages that the students saw were quite They did dictate a little bit like what your relationship with your student should look like. And I took feedback to heart on that. And I thought, how can I keep this portal simple and bare bones? Because if you overcomplicate things, sometimes it changes what you're offering and it changes your service and your reliability. But at the same time, leave teachers more choice. And so now what I've done is I've made 9 different payment values that you can offer students. You can choose to offer them 1 or 2 or 3 different price points. And then you can calculate based on how much you want to earn and that guaranteed payout value, exactly how many courses to offer in each bundle. So it is customizable. It's not like a total free for all. So it's sort of happily in the middle of do everything yourself or have something decided for you. And then having the last little point here is that having the curricula prepaid means that you're never out of pocket. So you don't ever pay to register to use the China payment portal on the website. The fees for it are automatically deducted from a student payment. So unless your student actually successfully pays you through the portal, there are no fees. You never transfer any money to us in this way. So that makes it really easy to get started because there's literally no upfront financial commitment and no overheads that you have to consider as an investment. Really, it just really means that you keep your business your own, you customize your rates, you make all the decisions, you're responsible for your student contract, and you just go from there. It's just a great sort of launching off point. On your first student payment, you are automatically enrolled into tons of curricula. So it includes Crystal Clear Phonics, also known as Level 1, Crystal Clear Kids, Crystal Clear Advanced, which is in development right now, and Crystal Clear Business. So you're looking at a minimum value of $102 for those courses because the sort of smallest payment price is 2,000 yuan, which equates to 3 months worth of commitment. You could be teaching less, like especially if you're teaching your student 3 times a week, for example, you might use up that 2,000 yuan payment price in a month, but you still get 3 months worth of access to the curriculum. So it's just an indicative sort of month entry into the curriculum. Also worth noting, and I don't really spell this out on the website, is that because I'm taking all like member pricing on the curricula, you're actually saving 33% compared to if you went and bought the curriculum outright from the site without using the payment portal. So that's quite good. You know, you're getting a discount as well. So who is this payment portal ideal for? There are lots of different teachers who it's ideal for. The teacher who's starting out and wants to save both time and money, like I mentioned before, you want to avoid large upfront costs. You don't want to start a business with debt. I think it's ideal for that teacher. The teacher for whom Stripe is sadly not available. So anybody that I mentioned that's in a geographic region that isn't supported by Stripe. And this has to do with lots of different factors, of course, you know, like your currency might not be supported. There might not be a tax agreement between Stripe and your country. There might not be the capability to export funds from your country. Or your Stripe might catch wind that you're trying to import funds from China, which again, they have red flags on that, don't they? So if there's any room for question, Stripe is quite quick to shut that down. It's also a great platform for sort of non-techie teachers or less techie teachers like me when I started out 2 years ago. It was a steep learning curve, and I'm not here to say that you can't learn it. There are tons of YouTube tutorials and lots of people on the Facebook groups who are happy to help you, often for a fee. But this is a way to cut out the need for that. Somebody else is handling it for you. Number 4, the teacher who needs a little support because you are maybe feeling overwhelmed getting started in freelance, and there are a lot of decisions and a lot of considerations to take care of at the start. And so by using a payment portal like this to outsource your curricula and your payments, it's one huge bundle off your plate, and you can concentrate on other issues. Number 5, the Crystal Clear teacher who is already using our curricula, so it makes sense to roll it all together. This is an important one because if you think about it, you get a discount on the curricula and you get the use of the payment portal for 1 to 3% extra. So actually, it probably makes financial sense to roll it all together. And number 6, the teacher who's looking for a solution and is ready to scale up their business into a sort of blossoming freelance success. What problem would you say that Crystal Clear ESL has solved for you?
Oh, just taking care of all the details. It's so easy just to put in my bank details and send a link over to them, fill out that form.
And done.
And then I'm done. And I don't have to worry about, because the way the systems are now, banks and fees and transfers and this and that and fees and that. I don't like to deal with it. I don't like to look at it. I don't want to know anything about it.
So those are all the sort of people who China payments is intended for. And I won't claim that, like I said at the beginning, if you are well established, you've got 30 students on board, you probably wouldn't use this platform because the charges are student by student, whereas you could kind of save by paying, even if it's like hundreds of dollars that you're paying a developer up front to put the plugin on your website. If you already have 30 students under your belt, it's probably worth that investment from the start. All right, how does it work? These are the steps for use. You'll see a version of these on the website itself. Basically, you start out by registering on the site. The little form is in a button that you click and it brings you, it's like a registration for my course, but it doesn't take payment because the registration is free. So that is to log you on the system so that when it comes to activating your membership, I have all the details and it's quick and easy to then register you for the courses for the curriculum side. Otherwise, it's like going back and forth and getting your email, getting your name, so forth. And I need to have all of those to give you access to the curricula. The second thing is to figure out your pricing links. Which ones are you going to use of the 9 that are there? I'll help you with that and some examples in a minute. Once you've chosen a pricing link, you copy that URL off of the top browser menu, and that's what you would forward to your client. I don't know why your sister would want it. So you give the URL to your client, and that's how they make payments. We'll come to examples because I do get questions on how to calculate that, and you'll have to bear with me because I'm not one for math, but it's why I teach English. So number 3 is when you are clear that a payment will be arriving. Let's say you had a conversation with your client or your parent and they have agreed on a bundle and a class price and seen your contract and they've said, okay, yep, teacher Michelle, I'm going to place payment now. Then you need to flag to me to expect the payment. And it doesn't have to be immediate, but basically what that does is it shows me that a payment coming in with a certain email address and a certain name link up to a teacher who's registered on the site. And that's how I ensure there's no issue getting that payment distributed onto you, if that makes sense. So I get teachers asking, Crystal, do I really have to do that for every payment? And the answer is yes, because I need to make sure 100% and triple check that the payment from this particular email address and student go to this particular teacher. And I've got a whole log and a system and multiple checks along the way to make sure nothing's mixed up. So it's just a security. The other issue with doing that student payment placement form is that if there are any faults in inputting your bank details, then I can sort of cross-check if you've already filled out a payment placement form for a previous student. And I can say, oh, okay, well, Cynthia's last payment went through successfully and her bank details were this, and this time it's an 8 instead of a 9. And so I can see where the discrepancy was. So it's like rechecking your numbers, your bank account numbers every time, which is really helpful. And then the fourth step is just sitting back and waiting for that guarantee payment to clear in your personal account. And the great thing is, I contact you personally and hold your hand every step of the way. So you always know where your money is. Like right now it's sitting in the Stripe account. They will release it on the 25th of January. And then on the 25th, you get another email and I say, okay, the money's hit. I'm transferring it off now from my business account to your designated bank account. It will arrive on the 27th, blah, blah, blah. And I do say within 10 days, but it tends to be quicker. And particularly if you've used the platform before, it tends to be quicker. So I think the average is probably between 5 and 7 days. It will depend if there are holidays in there though, because obviously we're dealing with banks. So it's quite simple to use once you wrap your head around it. So if you visited the website, you've seen this graph. This is the most important chart on the website with regards to payments. The kind of key thing that I want you to have a look at on this chart is the you earn category. So the last column is exactly what you will earn each time. Okay, so this is important because that sort of 1 to 3% commission, which comes under the admin fee column, is paying for fluctuations in transaction and currency conversion fees in order to ensure that your payment is coming to you at a guaranteed price. When you use Stripe or any other method of payment yourself, you will always see slight dips and changes, or over time, big dips and changes, because the currency does fluctuate compared to your home currency. So a benefit of this platform is no matter what, when you start that payment, you know what will be paid out. The other thing to consider why this column is important is that this is what we use to calculate how many classes you will offer your student within a bundle. So let's have a look at some scenarios. Okay, let's say you want to charge your student whatever, how many ever you want it is, but at the end of the whole fees and transaction, you want to clear at least $15 per class. Okay, it's your decision how long that class is, but let's just say for argument's sake, you want to make sure that you're earning at least $15 a class. So pick a bundle, any bundle. Look at the chart and the payout. So for example, this 4,000 yuan bundle has a guaranteed payout of $493. What I'm going to do is take that $493 and divide it by 15. And that shows me how many classes would fall under that bundle. The answer is 32. So if I do 493 divided by 32, I get roughly $15 a class. 493 divided by $15 a class equals, I think it's 32 and some change, number of classes. So then you ask yourself, okay, well, actually, if I offered 30 classes, which is more of a round number, how much would I make then? Or if I offered 35 and you just work it out again, or let's say I changed my mind, I'm really worth $18 a class. So you just work it out again and compare the outcome. It's pretty, I think once you try a few, you can get through it pretty easily. Here's another scenario. Let's say you've done you've done the first calculation and you've realized I don't really want to offer 32 classes. That's too many for me. I don't want that long of a commitment, or my students aren't comfortable, let's say, with that long of a commitment. So then look at a slightly cheaper pricing bundle. You can do the same calculation against the 3,000 yuan bundle, which pays out 390. So in this case, I'm dividing $390 by $15 a class, which equals 25 classes. Right? And then if I then want to figure out how much that is per class, I divide $390 by the 25 classes, and I'm actually earning $15.60 per class. Let's say I still am not happy. I still feel like that is too long of a commitment. Exactly the same again. I can offer a 2,000 yuan bundle. I've calculated it through. That is actually 15 classes, and it's going to pay me $16 a class. So I get a raise. And you can calculate it. So it's more like how I did it initially, where you've chosen 3 different price point bundles, and you're offering more or less classes in each to give slightly better value to your student if they commit to you for longer. If you're looking at it from the other perspective, like let's say you've started tutoring and you sort of misspoke and already promised your student a specific rate per class, you can do it that way too. So let's say you promised your student could pay 150 yuan per class. Well, you look at the 5,000 yuan bundle, for example, you divide 150 into it. It comes out as 33 classes, which means that your payout is $19.40 based on the guaranteed payout of $641. So it's just working it out a different way, where the key factor is the price that you are going to charge your student rather than your guaranteed payout value per class. Has everyone followed that, or would you like me to go through your individual scenario? I'm getting heads nodding. Yep. Okay. Good. I'm happy to hear it because I'm totally ridiculously bad at math. So this is just another cheaper option for calculating by yuan instead of by the dollar output. Here is a really good bonus that I also don't mention on the website itself, but I have had teachers take me up on. That is, if you can arrange to have 3 or more of your students to use the China payment portal at Crystal Clear ESL within the same calendar month, that third and beyond student are charged at 50% for fees and curriculum. So it's a huge savings. It's a massive way to give yourself a raise, because essentially the less you pay in fees and curriculum, the more you're taking home, and it's a substantial bump to your income hourly. So that's something to keep in mind for your own organization, and perhaps also steering your students to the same size of class bundle, because if you can get them all to renew like every March, every July, every November, then you know that you're going to be saving money that way as well. So that's quite good. Okay, we have a few minutes left. Does anybody have any questions they would like to ask? Yeah, Cynthia, go ahead.
I actually have a list of several questions.
Okay.
I took Tim Gascoigne's boot camp class.
Oh,
so I had listened to you on his YouTube, and then I chatted with you once on your website. So I've kind of been looking at all these things, going through this process for a while, but I'm a retired teacher. So like I taught school for 30 years. I want to do lesson plans and do that kind of thing as little as possible. I want to do this the lazy way.
I thought you were going to go the other way and say that you love to do it all yourself.
God no. God no. I want to do it. I want to do it the laziest, most streamlined way possible.
Right.
But here's my big question. I love that you're bundling everything together. But one thing is if you're familiar with VIP Kid, I don't know if you ever taught for them or not, but I have a bunch of students that I started out with teaching almost 5 years ago. So they're like at that level 6 and 7 program, and I understand that you have your advanced curriculum that's being built right now, but I don't know what to do with them right now. That's probably my biggest conundrum, because I have a group of kids that are all at that same, what was a VIP kid level 6 level. So I guess I'm looking for a time frame. Do you have any idea? I mean, I don't want to try to pinpoint you, but
Yeah,
I don't know what to do with them. Like, I know like a lot of them I've been talking with and everything. I just don't know how to push them to this when I really don't have lessons in your program for them.
Okay, so Cynthia, in terms of timeline, I anticipate getting to level 6 toward the end of this year, which probably isn't what you wanted to hear,
right?
Because it's just me mostly like creating the curricula from scratch. It is a slow process. That said, I do have the so you may have noticed there's an IELTS Made Simple course on the site, which isn't one that I wrote because I'm not, I don't know about IELTS, and I don't need to reinvent the wheel. I got enough on my plate. So I'm very luckily hosting that for another curriculum developer who has come to me recently and said, Crystal, I've got a writing course and a speaking course for advanced students. Do you think we could host them as well? And I'm like, yes, like the sooner the better. So he reckons that they are suitable for advanced students, B1 and up if you're using the Zephyr, and that they're kind of like older kids, maybe mid-age teens, maybe and up. But that said, you can very much pick and choose which of those lessons would pertain to the age of your kids and leave out the ones that don't. So I would say there will soon be options. I'm talking about probably in the next couple of weeks. And you're welcome to take a free trial before you set up a student payment and just check that's going to work for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then my other question is when you purchase your curriculum and you do the payment system, are you still using a third-party platform such as ClassIn or VUV to deliver those on, or are we delivering through your website too?
No, it's totally up to you. This is another feature of what I mentioned earlier, how it's all still in your boat. Like you can make that decision yourself. I find Crystal Clear interactive lessons work best with Zoom. They tend to have the best interactivity and they're the most stable. ClassIn is a great teaching platform, but because it comes with more bells and whistles, being a teaching platform, that unfortunately means that it takes more bandwidth. And when you combine that with an animated lesson plan as well, it can take its toll on your computer system and your internet. And that's where you start to experience lags or getting checked out, or your student not being able to access. Because of course, a lot of the Chinese kids, their internet isn't super terrific either necessarily. So Zoom's a bit more basic, but in this case, when the lessons are bringing all of the sort of sparkle, basic is what you want.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then my other question is, and I know this might seem like a weird question, but my cousin's a missionary in Budapest, and he's wanting to send me some of his students because his mission is growing and he has less time to teach English.
Right.
So he uses Zoom or uses Hey Langu. Can you accept payment from other countries than China?
I would say he should get in touch with me directly. I was expecting a question about, can I transfer payments to other countries than the US?
No,
but,
no. I mean, can people from other countries pay through your program, or are you just set up to deal specifically with China?
Technically, yes. We would have to speak one-to-one to work out the terms, because although I can accept them, they obviously won't fall within the guaranteed payout prices that are there. If they're coming in from another currency or what have you. So I would say do reach out and get in touch with me, or at least ask him to, and we'll investigate that on an ad hoc basis.
Okay. And then I have one last question, and I'm just going to stop. But you answered my questions, which is really important. when you purchase your curriculum, and let's say that I'm using your curriculum with Chinese students, but I'm also teaching through a format like Hey Langu or Italki to teach European students, can
Mhm.
once I purchase your curriculum, even though maybe I'm taking payment through another thing, I still use your curriculum and use it on another platform, and that works, right?
100%. So my main
Okay.
business is the curriculum,
Okay.
and the payment portal is aimed at enhancing and supplementing my offering. So
Okay.
whether you take out student payments through me is really, it has no bearing on using the curricula itself.
Okay.
And there's another, like almost every page on the website is focused at just curriculum alone.
Okay.
It's only the One China page that does incorporate the two.
Okay, perfect. Okay, my list is done. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Ladies,
no
thank you
problem.
for your patience. I'm going to mute myself and listen to you guys.
Does anyone else want to ask anything?
Yes, I have a few if you don't mind.
Sure, go ahead.
So I live in South Africa. Can I use the payment portal, or is it only for US residents?
This is the question I thought Cynthia was asking earlier. The answer is fundamentally, yes. It might involve a bit more of an ad hoc relationship between myself and that teacher. But first off, Michelle, is Wise Bank available in South Africa?
Yes, Wise is available.
Perfect. This is, I always, wherever a teacher is located, I always recommend this as a best solution because not only are they the most competitive for rates across the market, but they enable the transaction with Crystal Clear ESL to go that much smoother because our business account is with Wise Bank. So essentially, if you're not using Wise Bank, we have to readjust the guaranteed payout value because the transaction will involve switching multiple currencies. And as a business, when you use Stripe, you have to select a payout currency. So the funds come in from your students in Chinese yuan, and we've selected US dollar payouts because most of our teachers are there. So there would just be an added step involved. But if you have Wise Bank, you can accept those US dollar funds just like a US resident teacher could, and then decide from there what currency to transfer on of your own accord, and know that you're getting one, like the most competitive currency conversion in the market. So yeah.
Thank you very much. My next question is, a teacher I know uses PayPal for Chinese students, but what is the downside of that if you build the fees into your class pricing?
This is a good question. You're right. I do always advise that teachers build fees into the course pricing. It shouldn't be an extra hit on the teacher side, but there are a couple other considerations. One, I touched on earlier, PayPal is one of these providers that will charge the client as well. And you don't always know what that will be. And in fact, being so polite and giving, your student might not even mention the fees on their side to you, but it may be a factor in them dropping off your roster later on. The other thing is, while you might find some students are progressive and trusting and willing to try PayPal, most of them won't, because it's not a known and trusted payment provider in China like Alipay, which they are aware of. You know, the vast majority of Chinese people have Alipay on their phone and use it daily. It's a name that they trust, and it will add that sort of brand value to you that you are enabling that for their use.
Thank you.
Sure.
My next question. If I write my own curriculum or I get my materials from another place, can I still use your China payment platform?
100%. Yes, definitely. I have teachers who regularly supplement the Crystal Clear material with, you know, YouTube videos or wordwall games or whatever they like. And there are no sort of limitations on doing that. You're not bound to the Crystal Clear curricula in any way. I do have some teachers who've used a payment portal and don't use Crystal Clear curricula. They either plan their own lessons or use another provider, and that's fine too. The only sort of caveat in that is that because the portal is simplified to work in the way that it does, the pricing options and guaranteed payouts aren't amendable. So you use it as is, and then what you do with curricula is your choice after.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
My next question. It's not that hard to set up a basic website and to get verified by Stripe. Why wouldn't I just do that?
I think that if you're raring to go with 30 students lined up already, you should absolutely invest the time and money into developing your own website, perhaps even paying developer costs to do so, and integrating Stripe. I think in the shorter term, even, I won't even say long term, it will be beneficial for you to carry out your own payment transactions. That said, a lot of sort of easy to build website providers have some issues. First will be the fact that you will have to pay monthly to those providers if you don't want their branding on your site. Secondly, is that their hosting services at that basic bottom level may not be as stable as what you like. So whereas Crystal Clear ESL pays a top provider, it's known as the most stable hosting platform in the industry, and we pay one of their premium packages to deliver a constant service, a stable service, yours might not do the same. Another factor is that some specific web builder sites are banned in China. So if their domain suffix is on your domain URL, your students in China won't be able to access the site. So I would suggest that you try any potential domain name, including any suffix in China, by using one of these "Is it banned in China" website tests.
Okay, thank you very much. When I use the payment portal, my student obviously has some steps. What are the steps my student will need to take by Alipay?
Oh, thank you for the reminder. I did say I would touch on this earlier. So Alipay payments domestically for Chinese people function differently than internationally. So what they're used to is a lot like our Google Pay, where you download the app on your phone, and when it comes to paying, you swipe it or you scan it and click, 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 you know, everything's done instantaneously and finished. It's not quite like that with an international payment. There's an extra step just to verify for fraud prevention, really. So what your student will need to do is receive your email or WeChat message on a computer or tablet and open up that URL, which will bring them to the payment portal on the site, on the Crystal Clear ESL site, on the computer or tablet. They will then use the Alipay app on their phone to scan the QR code that's provided. This QR code is really sensitive. It's time sensitive, so it does expire, I think, in 6 minutes. And it's also sensitive to reproduction. So if they try to screenshot it and send it on to someone else or somewhere else, it will become corrupt. If they try to even scan it within the same device, it will become corrupt and it just won't work. So they can't reopen it, essentially. They open it once on their computer, let's say, they scan it once with their Alipay app on their phone, then they go onto their mobile Alipay app and click verify. And that all has to happen within those 6 minutes in order for the transaction to succeed. And you do need to communicate this with the student because, as I say, they're not used to using Alipay internationally. This will be totally new to them. Happily, Crystal Clear ESL does help you out through the process, and we do have some graphics to share with your student that are translated into Chinese to illustrate the process for them.
Oh, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
When it comes to my bundles, why can't I customize my bundles a bit more?
This is another good question. I did, so I'm not super techie. And like I said earlier, I basically duplicated what I was doing for my freelancing to help other teachers. So it is quite rudimentary in design. And secondly, the reason for that is if I overcomplicate things, I open myself up to instability of the platform, and also to higher tech and development and maintenance costs, which then I have to pass on to you. So in order to keep the costs to you really low, it's designed to be really simple and easy to use and easy to maintain. And in terms of the curriculum content provided, what I've done is I've gone across the Crystal Clear ESL website and reduced down the pricing of any content that I myself have created, because I have the capability to do that. I do host other content on the site, but because I'm hosting it, I don't have the same control over the pricing, and therefore can substantially reduce it to make it appealing within the Crystal Clear ESL payment platform bundle. So again, it's kind of about cost cutting in that if I, add my hours to configure every setting for every teacher, it's going to cost more. If I add course content that is going to come in at full retail price, it's going to cost more. So it's just about trying to make it the best, most cost efficient for every teacher rather than catering to every individual.
Okay, thank you. And my last question, are you registered with a financial conduct authority?
Good question. I think this has a huge amount to do with trust and who you choose to handle your payments. So first and foremost, our service is a curriculum membership. And this is this difference to companies out there looking to act as a middleman with finances only. We've done our due diligence and research and found that by offering a service over just a financial payment platform, we actually qualify as a disbursement company, which means that we are funneling money directly from the client to the teacher or the student to the teacher, and it kind of barely hits our designated China payments account. And by doing so, we qualify as that disbursement rather than a financial services company, because if you're a financial services company, you have to go through a very lengthy and very, very costly process to get registered with an FCA. And if you don't register, you hold yourself liable to all sorts of lawsuits and fines and these sorts of things. So do be aware of that when choosing a payment portal, because if they're handling finances alone, then they need to be FCA registered, whereas we're handling primarily, it's a prepayment of your curriculum membership bundle. So it's a little different.
Thank you very much. That's all the questions I have.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I want to thank everybody who came today, even just to sit quietly and listen, and especially those who put questions out there. I'm still available to ask questions if you want to get in contact with me personally. It's info@esl-curriculum.com. I would also like to say, if you want personal service in terms of working out your pricing package, I'm here to help with that as well. Sometimes it can be a little bit confusing in terms of what you want to make at the end for your payments and which sort of URL pricing link to choose. So please don't hesitate to get in touch about that. Thanks for joining me today. Have a great day. Bye.